Good morning, DC. It's another sunny Saturday in DC, and I'd argue that there's no better way to bring in the day than a brand new episode of the Capitol Hoop Caucus. I'm Wardell McCabe, and I'm joined, as always, by my two co-hosts. First is a man whose favorite part of the playground was the seesaw. It's Isaac Harris, and the man to his left, the man who loves a really good slide. It's Troy Halliburton. Gentlemen, how are you feeling this week?
How'd you know that?
Oh, I'm really good at guessing.
That's my. How'd you know that? That's wild.
Well, I'm more of a jungle gym guy myself. So
Jungle gym, all right. Get the
It's a little freaky there.
Nah, just trying to get my gymnastics on. Man.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Then it turned into the pull-up bar.
Well, let's look back on gymnastics. Last week we had the Undertaker drop, and Isaac had mentioned that he wants us to have a Goldberg drop for him next time. Let me just ask you both. What would your preferred song be for your wrestling walkout music?
It would have to be the Goldberg drop or something from John Cena's album.
Nah, my wrestling walkout music would be Red Hot Chili Peppers, Give It Away.
Give it away. All right, cool. A little bit more energy there. I like the originality. Isaac, what are you doing?
I mean, if we want to go really original, because WWE's had issues with representing Caribbean wrestlers and African wrestlers, we're gonna go. We got some Afrobeat.
Wait, hold on. You're Caribbean?
Here we go. See, there we.
Oh man, Jamaican be crazy, man.
Dog, that's crazy.
Here we go.
Crazy. Oh no, I cannot go to that.
Speaking of patois, oh man.
Oh man.
All right. Well, anyways, let's get back to basketball. Okay. All right, Troy. What is the goal of the Capitol Hoop Caucus?
The goal of the Capitol Hoop Caucus is to be the preeminent basketball show in the D.C., Maryland, Virginia area, and to talk hoops at every level so that people can come in and get that dose of basketball fix that they need.
That's absolutely right. Couldn't have put it better myself. And, well, of course, you all can listen to us every Saturday morning at 10 a.m. on ESPN 630 or also on the podcast feed, wherever it is that you get your podcasts. And when you find us, please be sure to give us a rate and review because, well, the algorithm, for whatever reason, likes it, and it can help us reach other basketball fans in the area like yourselves. But, folks, for the very first time, I'm very happy to announce that you can actually see us live on YouTube right now. And, well, since you have the opportunity to look at our stunning faces to commemorate it, let's each of us, on the count of three, let's hit the Citron meme. We all know what we're talking about, right? The Citron meme? No?
No.
I don't even know?
No,
I'm
actually
actually alone or doing this.
Yeah, I'm actually awful.
You've not seen them when they've done that thing? No?
No, actually
well, I guess
not.
we're not doing it because they're not going to join in the fun. Whatever. Whatever. All right. Let's get on to today's show because we're going to be talking about John Wall. He announced earlier this week his retirement, and to do so, we'll be joined by Michael Sykes II of Business of Fashion. And from there, we'll discuss some of the Wizards' recent camp signings, and then we'll recap the last week of Mystics basketball. And we'll also continue grading the off-seasons around the association. And then from there, we'll have an interview with the co-founder of the United African Basketball League, Steve Kolawole, as we preview tomorrow's Tournament of Nations. And to close it out, as always, we'll have trivia time for the line. But first, let's go ahead and start off with the Beltway Beat. Well, as we just listed there, John Wall has retired, but to discuss this a little bit further, you can all see him in the bottom right corner of your screens if you're watching on YouTube, and I just mentioned his name, but we are now joined by Michael Sykes II of Business of Fashion, sports and fashion correspondent for Business of Fashion. Mike, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, Mike is my guy. No other person that I can think of that would be better to come on and talk John Wall. Like he was sitting there right next to me during the prime John Wall years. Shout out to Bloggers Row forever. But we got a chance to witness Wall at his true height. So it's going to be great to kind of take that stroll down memory lane.
Yeah, I'm excited to do this. I mean, I've been thinking about like the best moments of John Wall's career since the announcement, and they're like, there are really more than I thought there were, honestly. Like, and maybe it's because the moment is just so like it still feels kind of fresh to me, like the moment of his career, but like it really was 8-9 years ago now.
Yeah, the shot was that was 7 years ago. Or no, it's 2020. That was 8 years
Whoa.
ago. 2017. Oh my God, Jesus.
Whoa.
No, that was 8 years ago. When he hit that shot against the Boston Celtics. That was 2017.
That feels time has flown by since that period, and I think for anyone who is familiar with basketball in this area, you would know how much that really meant to everyone here, right? It felt like we finally had a team since they became the Wizards, right? But let me first I'll start with Troy, because Troy had a publication drop in his Substack. Troy, what did John Wall mean to the Wizards franchise?
Yeah, so, one of the things that I talked about was the fact that, since the team changed the name from Bullets to Wizards in 1997, that I don't think that there's been a player who had a more of an impact on not only the actual on-court basketball aspect of things, but, what he meant to the community, what he meant to young fans across the region. I think that, one of the best decisions that Ted Leonsis has ever made as the owner of the Wizards was drafting John Wall with that number 1 overall pick in 2010. And, it took them a little while to kind of get off the ground because, that I think that's another thing that has to go into, Wall's resume is the fact that, man, Gilbert really just set off a nuclear bomb. Not quite literally, but he really had the franchise at the lowest point that it's ever been, with on the court because, he was hurt and he couldn't play. And then off the court with, all of the things that were going on, he got suspended and Javaris Crittendenn got suspended and ended up ultimately waived. And, I think that he just created this culture of chaos. And, John had to come in and really, turn everything around from that point. And then, just, 3-4 years later, they were in the playoffs, perennial playoff contenders. I think that what Wall was able to do with, pretty much, pulling the team up by their bootstraps and really making them relevant again in the NBA. I think that's the biggest thing for me. He took them from obscurity to relevancy. And, and he put the team on his back, put the city on his back. And so, I think that he deserves a lot of praise for those things.
And Mike, can you speak a little bit more about the levels he raised the franchise to?
Yeah, so I mean, just to Troy's point, I remember I think it was the 2012-2013 season where Wall has the leg injury and he's out for the beginning of the season, and it's about half of the season. So for that half of the season, this is before we get Bradley Beal, and we're watching AJ Price at point guard, which was just not a great time.
You never forget the big three: Wall, Jordan Crawford, Andre Bloch. Yeah.
I really want to forget the big three. I really do. I really do. I would really love to. The fact that you brought the big three up again is just but to this point, just to sort of illustrate the talent that John Wall was and how he literally lifted this franchise. That team, I think, had 5 wins to that point. I think they started the season something like 5-24 or something like that. It was really, really bad. The wins just were not there. John Wall comes back. He's healthy, going up and down the court. In his John Wall way, the only way that he can, just a monster in transition. And I think the team ended the season through his 49-ish games played. I think they ended up winning at least from that post All-Star point, they were a pretty close to 500 team, which just should not have happened. That just shouldn't have been the case with the talent, the lack of talent on that team. John Wall was able to sort of lift the team on the court, and then off the court. You can talk about the countless community events that he's had, the turkey drives, the backpack giveaways, all those things. And then, if you want to talk about the Rose Bar contributions, you could do that too. I feel like that's a whole different show.
College tuition stipends.
You know what I mean? And look, man, ain't nothing wrong with that if you ask me. But the point is that this is just a guy who not only did he come here, ball out, and give Wizards fans for a lot of Wizards fans the best player that the franchise has ever seen since like Troy said, the transition from Bullets to Wizards. But he also really seemed to care about the community in a real way that I just don't. You just don't see that a lot anymore from star players. Like, these guys make so much money and they're so inaccessible. But Wall always felt like somebody that was just like right there in the middle of it, in the thick of it. And I just always respected that as a fan of the team and somebody that covered it.
But I think that's where it's really interesting with Wall, Mike, as you said. That's not really a trait you see in players really ever. I think, a lot of people are saying it's not something you see in this day and age, but just the nature of the business, right? For professional athletes in this economy that we have claimed to be a free market, it is one of the few jobs in which they don't really have the freedom to choose where it is they're going, right? When players are drafted, they are set and told, you are selected by DC and you are told to be there. And so by the very nature of that, I think it's totally reasonable to understand why it is that players won't really have that deep connection with the city, why there could be that level of removed, which isn't to discredit other athletes as much as it is to really praise John Wall in this. Because in a city like DC, which is used to young professionals coming in who are out-of-towners and being a transient area for those out-of-towners, John Wall never made DC feel like anything but home to him. And I think that that's really special to have ingratiated himself into the community the way that he did. And Troy, in your Substack posts, which I'll plug again here, Ideal Taste DC, to anyone who isn't subscribed, you do talk about the work that he'd done for the community. Can you speak a little bit more to that?
Yeah, so John, when you really think about, like, I don't think it was just coincidence that he ended up in DC. Like for a lot of people who don't know that, there's a very special connection between the Carolinas and the DMV area. Like, I know a lot of people, who are from the DMV. They can trace their ancestry back to, the Carolinas. And I think that, John Wall's father was from DC. And so there was this, familial tie that he had to the city that, goes deeper than, just any random player being drafted to a random city. I think that there was a very deep connection there already. And so which made the transition for him to, give back to the community, it was like he was giving back to a community he was already a part of. And so, I love what, Mike mentioned about, just how accessible he was, how, easily it was for people to, reach out and touch him, for fans to reach out and be able to, I've seen John Wall, how they let fans down to the lower bowl before the games. I see him sit there and sign every single jersey, every piece of paraphernalia, and that might take 20, 30 minutes. A lot of, players, they might go by, they might sign one thing, two things, and head straight into the locker room. But Wall would sit there, and if you came, he would make sure that you got that one-on-one experience. And so I think that a lot of the things that when John Wall left his transition from leaving the Wizards, I think that people had this misconception about him as a person. And I think that it's really important to note that, this is a guy who's never been in trouble with the law. He's never been arrested. He's never, put them in position where they had the lawyer up or, anything like that. Like, I think that a lot of the mistakes that he did make were, of the mistakes that young men make when they are, transitioning from, boyhood to manhood. And so, I think that when you think about, him just as a person and what he meant to the area, it's just really unmeasurable. And we haven't even gotten to talk about, the things that he did on the basketball court.
Right. And Mike, can you talk a little bit more about the actual effect that he had on his teammates on the floor?
Yeah, I mean, you want to talk about the guys that he got paid. Like, that was kind of the thing with John Wall, right? Is that, like, if you are a corner three shooter, if you can just sit in the corner and wait for this guy to get in the lane and get you the ball, like, you're going to be open and you're going to make the shot because you'll be that open. So I'm thinking dudes like Martell Webster, Cartier Martin.
Ooh, what a name!
Yeah. Like, I'm really digging, like, Rasul Butler, rest in peace. Otto Porter. I mean, Otto Porter's Jared Dudley's another guy. There's just a lot of dudes that John Wall got to that second and maybe even that third contract just off of the talent that he was. And I know like everybody likes to make the jokes about the spoon-fed buckets dig that he gave Marcin Gortat when they had that little tiff that was going on with the whole everybody eats thing or whatever. But like the buckets were pretty spoon-fed. Like Gortat would find himself at the rim wide open, just all you had to do was lay the ball up, you know, and that was just the sort of talent that he was. I kind of looking back on him, he's a 5-time All-Star, only made one All-NBA team. That was the third team All-NBA. And I just feel like the career being cut so short because of how the Wizards sort of mishandled his health and his knees breaking down. His last best year was when he was 27 years old. And I can't shake the feeling that like there should be a few more All-NBA selections on there. There should be a few more All-Star teams on there because the dude was just that good. He's one of the best passers that I've ever seen. He might be the fastest player that I've ever seen with the ball from end to end. It was just when he got the ball in transition, it was a wrap, man. Like he just gave you some of the best highlights that you see. I mean, the series literally doesn't matter, but the behind the back dunk on Atlanta in the 2018 playoffs, like I see that play all the time. People tweeting it out, people playing it on YouTube, sharing it or whatever. And it's just because it's just like one of the most spectacular things. It's like literally something that you would think a Harlem Globetrotter would do. And this dude is doing it in the middle of a playoff game. Like that's insane. That's insane.
Yeah, and like Mike, I love the fact that as you're sitting here talking, it's just like kind of refreshing my memory of like so many things that he has contributed to the game of basketball. Like when you talk about Marcin Gortat, to this day they have this thing in the NBA. It's called the Gortat screen, and so I know that it's called the Gortat screen because Marcin Gortat is the guy who's actually setting the screen, but John Wall is the one who created. He's the one who told Marcin like, oh yo, if I go this way, if sometime I might come back the other way, you just flip the screen and and then I'm gonna just go downhill and we're gonna get a layup every time. And so like people could try to teach their big men right now to do the Gortat screen, but you need a John Wall at point guard for the thing to really work like they drew it up. And so I just love like Wall. He had so many great moments with the Wizards on the basketball court. Like I really think that, people, like one of the knocks that people try to say, oh, well, he shouldn't have his jersey retired because, they didn't have playoff success. I mean, the man won, he had 20 playoff wins. That's nothing to sneeze at. Like, people want to talk about, like the guy, like he had one playoff run or like, like they had one, like, no, he was consistent. I watched them, sweep the North. Like, they got the Toronto Raptors up out of there. Like, they didn't win not one game. Like, they had Kyle Lowry and DeMar DeRozan in the backcourt. I watched Wall and Bill go up there and destroy Jimmy Butler and beat the Chicago Bulls 4-1 in a playoff series. Like Wall, to me, I think that it was very unfortunate, like you said, Mike, about his body breaking down. A part of that is because they never had a backup point guard for him. So the guy's playing, 30 to 35 minutes a night. Like he's playing ridiculous amounts of minutes, putting a lot of wear and tear on his body because that's what he had to do. And so, I will never, get over that summer of 2016, bringing in Jan Mahimi and Andrew Nicholson with the salary cap space. It's like there are so many other things that could have contributed to John Wall making, a conference finals appearance. But you know what? The fact that Wall was able to carry the team to the heights that he was, but the fact that they got 20 playoff wins with the surrounding supporting cast that they had, I think is a real testament to, how much quality of a basketball player John truly was.
Well, and Troy, you mentioned there the conversation of jersey retirement that has been something that is really buzzing online right now. Is it safe to say you are on team retire too?
I said, to me, the case is unassailable. Like, there's no argument against it to me because of the fact that, okay, if you start breaking down like actual statistics, okay, so there are 184 jerseys retired across the entirety of the NBA. And you start looking at some of these jersey retirement, people will say, oh, he didn't win a ring, so they shouldn't retire his jersey. Well, if that was the case, half the teams in the NBA would not have a jersey retired because half the teams have not won a ring. So like that argument is just out the window right there. Okay, and then when you start looking at his cultural impact and when you start talking about what does a jersey retirement mean, it's really about honoring identity. It's honoring eras. It's honoring a place and time. And I think that John Wall exceeds every bar when it comes to what he was able to take the Wizards during his tenure here, the heights that he was able to take them to, and to me, like I said, the cultural identity and impact that he had on Washington D.C. as a community, and the way that he was able to galvanize the fan base. There's no question that you can't tell the story of the Washington Wizards during the 2010s decade and not honor John Wall. It would, to me, to not honor him would be downright disrespectful.
And Mike?
Yeah, I 100% agree. 100% agree with Troy. I mean, there's no way unassailable. Like there's you literally cannot give me a reason that the jersey should not be up in the rafters already at this point. Like I feel like, especially with this would be a team jersey retirement ceremony. So like the standard is the teams. Right. And so like the team can do whatever it wants, doesn't have to go by anybody's lofty ring expectations or whatever. This is the Washington Wizards that we're talking about. It's been multiple decades of just ineptitude. Right. And this is a dude who lifted that team up for as short of a time as it was. He lifted the team to places that it had not been to in decades. The team still has not had a 50-win season since the 1970s, but 49 wins in 2017 was close enough for me. Like I felt that was the best basketball team that I had ever seen play NBA basketball in Washington, D.C. And it's because of that dude. And I just think that anyone who would say that the jersey doesn't deserve to be retired, I just feel like they're overthinking it a little bit. Like they're like, if you want to talk about like Hall of Fame cases, okay, like maybe there's a discussion to be had there. Maybe there's like, I don't really know if John would make the Hall. He would go into my Hall of Fame if it was me, but that's a different conversation. I just feel like the jersey retirement though, that's a no-brainer, and it would be a grave mistake for the Wizards if they chose not to do that. Y'all already don't have that much great history since changing the name.
Exactly.
You should really honor this. Like this is something that should be honored.
The last jersey that the franchise retired was Phil Chenier's in 2018, and he was a member of the team from the 70s. So it's like like they haven't retired a player. They haven't had a player who's played in the last like 40 years that they've retired the jersey, and like John Wall has earned that. It's earned, not given. And to me, I think that when you look at the things that he like was able to go out there and do on the basketball court, and one of the great stats that I was able to pull when you're talking about players who were averaging 18 points per game, 9 assists, 1.5 steals, only 5 players in NBA history did that, and John Wall is one of them. We're talking about the Isaiah Thomases, the Magic Johnsons. Tim Hardaway Sr. was another one who was on that list. Like, but he is an elite company of being, that type of floor general where that's your job. Like his job isn't to go out there and score, 30, 40 points, but he got everybody involved, and he made sure that he put his teammates in the best possible position to perform on the court and to get paid off the court. So to me, I think that it's about honoring the legacy of what the Wiz kids and what they were able to do during that decade. And to me, I think it should start with them, bringing Wall back in, having the honorary one-day signing and announcing that they're going to retire his jersey.
All right, now Isaac, we haven't heard from you in a little bit. What is your case for Wall's jersey retirement?
It shouldn't be a debate. I mean, he's leading, and I'll break it down to even to the dummy science, not even the whole emotional, the ethos. He leads in major categories. He played over 10 years, at least close to 10 years with the team. So you got length. He's leading. He leads in the record books. And all-star, I feel like it's a no-brainer. Like, the length was there, the accomplishments are there, maybe without a championship and maybe without one more playoff appearance, but it's all there. It's all there. It's an open book test. And the only people that I see failing is non-DC Wizards fans. And I wish people would take that understanding and say, no, this is a book set case that this number should be retired.
Well, for any of the non-Wizards fans who are upset about the idea of John Wall getting his jersey number retired, please keep in mind and bring that energy to the Miami Heat, who have retired number 13 for Dan Marino and 23 for Michael Jordan.
Who never played for their franchise.
Like, what are we doing here?
Exactly.
Like, this is an absurd conversation. Yeah. But let's move on. We have also talked about the moments that he made while he was here, and there are countless moments that Wall has set as a Wizard. Troy, let me first ask you, what was your favorite moment for John Wall in DC?
To me, I know my favorite moment was the 42-point closeout game against the Atlanta Hawks in the 2017 playoffs, where you know that he really came out and showed the world that, okay, like, if y'all saying I can't score the bat, I'm gonna show you that, you know, I could do this too. And he scored 42 points to close out and win a playoff series. So that's my favorite John Wall moment.
And Isaac?
My favorite John Wall moment is when he had that incredible game after he lost his friend. And I might be pronouncing her name wrong.
Maya.
Yeah,
Yep.
Maya. That game kind of solidified not only to play through adversity, but as well as, you know, what he meant to the area. And that just kind of, I felt like that game kind of summarized his impact to DC, that this meant more to him. So that's my favorite John Wall memory as a player here for DC.
And Mike?
This is very cliche, but it's definitely the shot.
I knew somebody was going to take it.
It's definitely the shot.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you.
It has to be the shot. I mean, it was a crazy shot. Big moment, game 6. Y'all lose, you go home, it's done. The play is not even for him.
Play's not even for him.
Mm-hmm. Avery Bradley's right there, drains it, jumps up on the table. This is my city. I'm like, this is the moment. This is the storybook moment that everybody wants to see. This is what you would take to Hollywood and pitch as a script. Like, this is it right there. And to see that, to be there in the building, witness that's the apex moment right there for me.
Yeah, for sure. And I think if I had to choose one myself, I think if I can go off the court, I think knowing what John was going through at the time, and Troy, you wrote about this in your Substack, again, Ideal Days DC, for anyone who doesn't know, subscribe today. But during the pandemic, he was providing rent relief to those in DC. And knowing what he was going through at that time, it's crazy. You know, he was going through a whole lot, both on and off the floor. I think that was all love from him for the city. That was amazing leadership that this area right now really needs from any athlete to speak up on anything. It felt like he was really here, and you know, for on the floor too, even after that, I think something that showed that it was all love, that love was reciprocated by the city itself, is when he returned to DC on the Clippers. That was in 2022. And man, he had that steal.
Still my city.
Yeah, it's still, he had that steal, you know, pull-up jumper, and he said, this is still my city. And you know what? It absolutely was. Everyone from the audience was on their feet. They were screaming for him. They were hollering for him because, yeah, he's still DC's guy. And he still loves the city, and I think it's so wonderful. And I'm trying not to make it seem like we're eulogizing him, but this is something I think appreciating and celebrating someone at that retirement point is something that fans should be doing a little bit more often in sports.
Yeah, we got to give people their flowers while they can still smell them.
Absolutely. Now, moving on from John Wall, because I feel like we probably could fill up the whole show with talking about John Wall, but we do have to go to other topics of basketball in the area. So let's go to the current day Wizards. Chris Haynes broke news on a couple of new signings for the team this past Tuesday, August 19th. The first being Alondes Williams, who the Go-Go recently acquired the returning rights to in a trade earlier this month. Isaac, for those who didn't hear our conversation a few weeks ago, what kind of playing style can fans expect with Williams?
You have a stud, like a good 6'4" athlete that is a scorer. I mean, in his G League in one of his G League debuts when he was playing with the Sioux Falls Skyforce, he dropped like 50, 54. Like just an efficient 54 too. He wasn't shot chucking. This is a guy that, although I'm not immediately seeing like, oh my gosh, he is this missing scorer we need. He's gonna try to force that score in practice and at training camp out of our young guys. And this is a great signing just for locker room purposes and just for preparation purposes. Like, hey, who's gonna score like this guy? Who's gonna be an attacker, high flyer? He had dunked the summer at the summer league when I was on. Like, yeah, no, this was a great signing.
All right, and the other signing they made is Scala Bissier, a name that I imagine people have probably not heard in a while, but he actually played 4 games with the Kings last season after 4 years away from the NBA when he was on a 10-day contract, and also he played recently on the Orlando Magic's Summer League team. Troy, it's not very often that you see a player make it back to the league after so many years in the G League and then also in the BSN in Puerto Rico. What energy do you anticipate Labissiere bringing to camp?
Yeah, shout out to Skylar Bissier and Alondis Williams. This is what we call, in the sports world, they call them training camp bodies. And so, these guys are here to, like Alondis Williams is, he's a great, physical scorer, for that G League level. Like, and he should be able to come in and give a lot of competition to our very, very young roster. So, instead of, for the Wizards, they've already made the investment in drafting all of these young players. It doesn't make any sense to bring in other young training camp bodies. So like they're going out and they're getting vets. These guys are, I think they're 26 and 29 years old respectively. So these are guys that are going to be able to come in and just give these guys actual real looks and physicality. And they're going to try to come in and do what they can to get our young players ready. And, and Scala BCA's, in his opportunity, because we don't have a lot of big men, he might actually have a, backdoor outside shot of making the roster. So,
yeah, they're definitely going to try to push the core of the roster a little bit more. And these 2 signings, just so everyone is aware, that pushes the Wizards' current roster to 20 players, which is just one shy of the offseason limit. We'll see if they decide to fill in that last spot. But as you all can see on the YouTube side, Michael Sykes II is still with us, and that's because we're going to start talking about the Mystics. Let's move through their last week of action. It started last Friday with an 88-84 win at Indiana, and then a 95-86 win versus Los Angeles on Sunday. Then a 69-80 loss to Connecticut on Tuesday, and they followed up with a 56-67 loss at Connecticut on Thursday. Troy, you're taking a little bit of a sigh there. What did you think of the last week?
It was all good just a week ago. I think that, to me, when they beat the Sparks on Sunday, I started looking at the schedule ahead. I'm like, oh, man, we can get into the playoff. Like, the Sparks are, because they were right in front of us, and I was like, we can get back into playoff contention. I was like, oh, we got the Connecticut Sun coming up. That's 2 easy wins. Like, and, I think that, the Connecticut Sun show why their check's still clear too. And, that they really kind of took it to the Mystics. Like, I think both of those games, the biggest shock was the fact that the Mystics have played so many close games this season. Those games were not close. They got whooped in both of those. And so, I think that I'm very concerned for, their potential hopes of making the playoffs for this season. I think that this week really kind of took a hit to that pipe dream. Well, not a pipe dream, but it's still a dream because they're only 2.5 games back. But it's just hard. Like, when you look at some of the missed opportunities for the Mystics this season, those 2 losses, they still haven't beat the expansion Golden State Valkyries. That's 5 losses right there. That if you're really trying to, do something with the season, if you're trying to be in contention, those are 5 losses that they just could not have afforded.
Yeah, it was startling, to say the very least. I mean, I think I was just like you. I was writing these 2 off as easy wins. I said, okay, they're done with Connecticut. They're going to be back at 500, 18-18, and now they're sitting there at 16-20. And look, they still have a puncher's chance at the playoffs, but they're definitely on the outside looking in. Mike, can I ask you, what did you see in these 2 games against Connecticut that the Mystics have to improve on?
Man, they just got out physical, honestly, which is not something that I typically see with this team. And granted, like, they weren't the healthiest in this stretch. Like, you didn't have Stephanie Dolson in the first game. JC Sheldon has been out. And so, like, it really is sort of tough to like really consider, especially in the front court, like how things probably would have shaken out had Dawson been there in the first game, but she was back for the second game, and they still kind of got bullied. Like Tina Charles went off in that third quarter, and it just honestly was pretty surprising. But this is also sort of the thing that I kind of expect from a younger team that is now trying to find its way without one of the veteran leaders that it had in Brittany Sykes, who, you know, when the games were close, and Sykes is not a perfect player by any means. Her running the offense was not the most ideal situation for this team in a lot of situations. But I do think that when it boiled down to it late in the games in these clutch situations, they had somebody who could just put her head down, get to the cup, get fouled, maybe make a layup here and there, and sort of slow things down for the younger players on the roster to sort of mellow out and catch that rhythm. But now you've got Sonia Citron, you've got Kiki Ariafin, who are just sort of number 1 and 2 on the scouting report at this point. And you know, Connecticut was just like, nah, y'all aren't about to do what you want against us. They're top locking Sonya. They're pushing Kiki off her spots in the paint, and it just was 2 tough games in a row. And you kind of just got to chalk it up because you got 8 games left. The Valkyries are coming up. You got the Storm, I think, coming up too, and then you get the Fever one more time. And like those are games that you have to have. So you lost these, but you got to come back and get the next ones.
Yeah, they definitely do need to bounce back, and we do need to see more of that physical nature that they had really been building their identity off of, and that kind of vanished against Connecticut. That they need to bring that if they want their chance in the playoffs. They really have to bring it. Their next game up is later this afternoon against the Aces, and I think that would really be the ultimate tell for this team. If they can hang in that game, or if they can maybe pull one out, then I guess we keep the playoff hopes alive. If not, then we'll have a very different conversation and next week about what the offseason is going to be for this franchise. But Michael, as he said there, they're really being led by this young squad. And one of the highlights that I wanted to bring through is that Sonia Citron has actually set a franchise record for the Mystics. She is now the single-season scoring record holder, passing Shamika Holdsclaw. As Holdsclaw, her rookie year, she had 525 points, and now Citron currently has 552 points, and there's 8 more games in the season. So this record is pretty firmly hers. Troy, what do you think the impact has been for Citron being able to come out the gates so on fire as a rookie for this franchise?
Yeah, it's been amazing to watch her develop over the course of this season. And the thing is that I think that a lot of Mystics fans can, have an appreciation for is that now we have an understanding of who Sonia Citron is as a player. And to me, I think that, she is showing, but, with her having the rookie scoring record now, that she's a finisher. And so, I think that, she is, she's somebody that, you run your offense for, that you want the ball to end up in her hands, taking those big shots and, making those plays. I don't think that, that she is the person who should be having the ball in her hands and creating and, getting others involved. I think that, we've learned over the course of this season, like even why, Michael was alluding to when Brittany Sykes was there, she plays the point guard position, but like, was she really playing the point guard for the Mystics? Like she was more of like what exactly what Mike said, driving to the lane, praying to get fouled and go to the free throw line. Maybe she'll make a layup. And so what I think that the Mystics, what Sonia Citron has done, she's made Jamila Wyman, she's put her on notice. They're like, okay, I have this player who is a finisher, and then now I can say, how can I build around her to for the betterment of this franchise? But what she's done is absolutely amazing, and I'm very proud of the fact that she has shown a lot of fight in this season, and that she's only going to keep getting better.
I know, Isaac. I hate to do this to you, man, but since we're on the conversation of Citron, last week you made a pretty bold claim that Citron's Rookie of the Year contention was already wrapped up. She had already earned the award. A little bit has happened since then around the league. This past Wednesday, Paige Beckers dropped 44 points. Granted, it wasn't a loss. Not that really matters, all things considered, because she scored 44 while shooting 17 for 21 from the field. And that includes 4 for 4 from 3 and 6 for 6 from the line. Isaac, is the Rookie of the Year award race, is that still locked up for you?
Listen, I'm loyal to a fault. So I'm gonna stand on business like Drewski and say, hey, you gotta respect me on that. But in all actuality, Paige showed out. I mean, she showed why this is not a set conversation. That this is like, no, I'm this player. I'm the best player in this class. So I mean, props to her. Props to her 100%. And if she wins it, she wins it. It was a good race.
I would argue. I'm sorry. I would argue she said that it is a set conversation, but now it's set for her.
Right. But like I said, but like you gotta understand, I'm loyal to a fault. I'm gonna ride it. I'm gonna ride this out.
I'm standing on business.
I'm standing on business
on the Titanic.
On the Titanic. I'm going down. I'm going down with the ship because as a true person that's covering this team, I'm gonna go down with the ship. It is what it is. I'm not gonna flip. I'm not gonna flip business like that. I'm not gonna do something that, especially my fellow at West Africa, my fellow African from Cape Verde. We're not gonna do that. No, I'm gonna ride with her. I'm gonna ride with it.
That's
so yeah. But yes, to acknowledge Paige. Yeah, no, that was a 17 for 21. Wow, that's Diana Taurasi-esque, Kobe-esque type of like. The way she was playing, the way she was moving, all of it. I have to accomplish. You have to like give flowers and take a bow. That's amazing.
Mike, is this conversation wrapped up?
I mean, yeah, it's done. I mean, Paige is 44. That no one has ever scored as many points as she did while also shooting 80% from the floor. Yeah, like that's it. That's it. And look, Sonya's great. Kiki's great. It's not as good. Just not as good. And it's okay. That's fine. Maybe they will be one day. Maybe. We can hope. But now.
I think that Paige Beckers has locked up the Rookie of the Year race. And to me, when you look at the fact that, with the Mystics losing these games like they are, like it's like we can't even say, oh man, we're on a playoff contending team. It's like, no, we're only 4 or 5 games in front of them. So I think what Paige has done as far as being able to score the basketball, to me in that 44-point game, that's not only was that she tied the Candace Parker's rookie record for most points in a game, but she also had the most points in the entire WNBA for this season. So that's we're talking about for right now, she's the best scorer in the league, or one of the best scorers. Shout out because we're going to see the best scorer in the WNBA tomorrow. Shout out to Asia Wilson, she's on the tear right now. But I think that when we talking about the rookie, it's acceptable to have 2 first-team all rookies, and that can put them in a great position to continue to develop moving forward.
Yeah, for sure. We should still be able to celebrate the rookies in DC, as I mentioned, with Citrone now having the single-season rookie scoring record for the franchise. For Iriafen too, she's also the only Mystic ever with over 400 points. Over 300 rebounds and over 50 assists in a single season. So that's still something to be celebrating. It is no slight to them. It's just Paige has just been on another level, and that's okay to admit. Elsewhere for the Mystics, just really quickly, I should note, they have also re-signed Madison Scott to a second 7-day contract. We brought that up last week, which is just cool to see that extra love going her way. I know that both her and Shakira Austin have roots at Ole Miss together, so that's nice to see that. But we're just going to go ahead and wrap this up first, but not before thanking Michael Sykes II for joining us today. Michael, for anyone who enjoyed what you had to say today, where can they get more of your work?
Appreciate y'all for having me, man. You guys can follow me on X and Blue Sky at Mike D. Sykes. I would give y'all the rest of the Blue Sky handle, but that's way too long. Instagram as well. And you can follow my work on Business of Fashion. I write the sports and fashion newsletter called The Kicks You Wear, where I cover sneakers, streetwear, sportswear, Nike, Adidas, whatever, basketball, whatever. You name it, I'm covering it. So.
Yeah, man, Mike, I greatly appreciate you coming on, man. The Kicks You Wear is like a newsletter that is constantly in my inbox. So I'm very appreciative of you keeping everybody abreast to all the things going on in the shoe industry, man.
Appreciate it, Mike. All I gotta ask you is just hook me up with a different shoe guy. I need a new shoe guy. Size 15s out here are hard to find, especially in custom. So if you got a guy, send them my way.
I'll be on the lookout for you, my boy.
Appreciate it. Appreciate it.
Well, I know he appreciates that. But first, before letting you go, too, could you also please let people know what it is you do on X every Thursday?
Oh man, the kicks we wear, bro. That's my it's the highlight of my week every week. Like I just, so this is a call out that I do where I just want y'all to send me pictures of your shoes. It don't matter what kind of shoes they are. Just make sure they shoes. I don't want to see y'all toes, but send me pics of your shoes. It don't matter what kind. Just send them. I'm gonna hype you up because I love the fact that y'all love your sneakers. Just make sure they sneakers.
And that's every Thursday, everyone. All right, we're going to take a quick time out here. On the other side, we'll be grading the off seasons of the Northwest Division. You're listening to the Capital Hoop Caucus on ESPN 630 and the ESPN 630 app. Welcome back into the Capital Hoop Caucus on ESPN 630. That is Troy Halloran, and that is Isaac Gajikameris. I am Wardell McCabe. Thank you all again for joining us. As we noted at the top of the show, continue our run of grading the off seasons of each team in the WNBA. But today, we're focusing on the Northwest Division. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to go team by team to review their additions and departures, with their hosts providing their own grades. Only this week, we'll have some listener questions from the text-in line. That's right. Some of you at home have provided some questions. A quick note on that, though. This is on me for not providing this prompt last time. If you wouldn't mind texting also in your name or your social media handle, so that way we can give it a shout out. Right now I have your phone numbers, and I don't want to shout that out on air for very obvious reasons. So just for next week, when you have questions as we grade the Central Division, text us any questions that you may have in for the Cavs, Pacers, Bucks, Pistons, and Bulls with your name and or social media handle. So that way I can give you a shout out and actually attribute it to the person who gave us the question. It would be nice to do that.
281-330-8004.
Yeah, we don't want to blow up anyone's line for this, all right? Let's focus now on the Northwest Division, okay? Let's first start. We'll go through this by record with the OKC Thunder. They finished last season 68-14. That's good for first in the West. And obviously, they won the NBA Finals. So this offseason, they have re-signed SGA, Chet Holmgren, and Jalen Williams to long-term extensions, all on max contract extensions. And they've traded away Dylan Jones to Washington, of all places. And in the draft, they drafted Thomas Sorber at pick 15. Troy, we'll start with you. What grade do you give the Thunder for their offseason?
I'm going to give them an A, purely based on the fact that they locked up, their three biggest players. They locked up Jalen Williams, J-Dub, Chet Holmgren, and the MVP of the NBA, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. So the fact that, they got their young core locked in for the long-term future, I think that alone is enough to warrant an A. Then they also had a first-round pick, and they drafted Thomas Sorber out of Georgetown. So, to me, I don't think that, I don't think they could have had a better offseason. They got a young prospect coming in, and they got, long-term security for their franchise players. So I'll give them an A+, actually. So
yeah, that prospect they picked, too, was one of the many centers picked up in that draft. They got one of the elusive big men there.
So, yeah, I'll give them an A+.
A+, all right. Now, Isaac, what grade do you give the Thunder?
A++, because I mean, like
that weighted GPA 4.8.
Yeah, weighted GPA. We're going AP. Yeah, weighted, very weighted. And the only reason why is I'm just thinking about the offseason moves that they made. And I know a lot of people are saying, well, in that case, they have to trade, Alex Caruso or Isaiah Hartenstein down the line. But look at the progress that they made, in pre-planning for that. They have Thomas Sorber. They drafted a first-round center, saying, okay, well, when he's ready, we'll just trade him. We'll trade Isaiah Hartenstein, and we'll just have our rookie hopefully become they're making chess moves and also winning a title, and they have more first round picks. Life's good. Life's good in the Dust Bowl.
Yeah. We'll also say they've also got the addition of Nikola Topic as he was out all last season. So there's that too. But we have our first listener question in. This is the very first question that anyone's ever texted into the line that we're reading on air. And the question is, has anyone made up enough ground to catch the Thunder, or is next season already over?
I wouldn't say that anyone has made up ground to catch them, but the season is definitely not over. That's why they play the games. Like, you never know what is going to happen between now and next June. So, yeah, like, I think that, I don't think that I would say, this team has, really closed the gap significantly, but you just never know what's going to happen. So,
all right, well, let's move on to the Nuggets. They finished 50-32 last season. That was good for fourth in the West. And they lost in the second round to the eventual champion OKC Thunder. Let's look at what their offseason has entailed. They've traded for Cam Johnson from Brooklyn for Michael Porter Jr. And they also added Jonas Valanciunas from Sacramento for Dario Saric. And then from there, too, they've signed Tim Hardaway Jr. and Bruce Brown. Isaac, what grade do you give the Nuggets?
I give them a B-, and I hope a certain Nuggets fan doesn't look at me too crazy. The only reason I'm giving them B- is because I don't know how the new coach is going to be with this roster. The move's solid. They got some salary back in. They finally have a bench, but you hired a coach that I'm not sure I have a lot of info about, and I'm not really sure. You hired the interim. So I'm like, we'll see where this goes.
All right, Troy.
Well, I'm going to give them an A. I love the Cam Johnson for Michael Porter swap. I love that for them, just because for the financial implications that it'll give them relief for this year and in future years. But then I love Cam Johnson as a player, and then I love the fact that they added guys who are going to be able to come in and fit very specific roles around Nikola Jokic. So Tim Hardaway Jr. and Bruce Brown, who was already there. And then, shout out, was it David Adelman, right? Like, I think he showed enough last year that he, earned that job. And so, I really like what the Nuggets did. So I'm going to give them an A.
Yeah, I also liked the Cam Johnson for Michael Porter Jr. swap, but more for cultural reasons. So we don't have to get into that. Anyways, the next question we have in here is the Nuggets offseason overrated? First, let me just say, how dare you? Isaac, I'll ask that question to you. Was the Nuggets offseason overrated?
Overrated? Or no, I think it was a good offseason. They made some financial moves. Like they got rid of Michael Porter Jr. And I think PR-wise, it was smart. So just to put out there, like, that's a big plus. PR-wise, yeah. It wasn't overrated. I think it was a good offseason.
All right, properly rated. But for you, that properly rated was a B-. Interesting. Taking note of that. Moving on, the Minnesota Timberwolves, they finished last season 49-33. That was good for sixth in the West. And they lost in the Western Conference Finals to the OKC Thunder. Let's look at their offseason. They've re-signed Joe Ingles, Julius Randle, and Naz Reid. And they've also lost Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Luka Garza in free agency, and then in the draft, they selected Joan Behringer at pick 17. Troy, what grade do you give the Minnesota Timberwolves?
I'm going to give them a C, just because, I think that they probably overpaid a little bit for Naz Reid. I think that he's a good player, and I know he was sixth man of the year, he was sixth man of the year before. But, I think that for big men who, to me, really can't defend the rim and really aren't that physical when it comes to crashing the boards, I think that, his value is kind of somewhat limited. And so, with them kind of overpaying him and then losing Nickeil Alexander-Walker, who I thought, really was the kind of glue piece that they needed in that backcourt, especially like Mike Conley's older than me. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like the fact that he's still playing in the NBA is an absolute miracle. But, I think that they need a little bit more insurance in that backcourt. And with them losing Nickeil Alexander-Walker, I think it really, kind of hinders what they can do next season.
Isaac?
I'm with that. I'm with Troy on that one. It's probably a C, maybe even a lower, because I think losing Nickeil Alexander-Walker, I think, is a bigger loss than more people realize. That's a guy that was your 3-and-D guy that you can rely on down the stretch to get a stop, or if you need just one last bucket, not obviously a game-winning bucket, but if you need, he's old reliable, like, just in case. And when you lose someone that's a critical piece, like a glue guy like that, that does affect the team. I will note losing Luka Garza isn't a big loss, but you lost a big center who's going to contribute to another team. So, like, you lost some bench players there that I'm not really happy about. But you did get, I don't know. We'll see.
Shout out DMV legend Luca Garza, the Murray School, man.
My guy.
I saw him put in work.
And shout out to him. He was my house league rival back in the day. That's why.
That's crazy. Yeah, I saw him put in work, man. He was dropping buckets on people.
All right, so we got double C's there. Let's move on up to the northwest, a little further northwest. Portland Trailblazers, they finished last season 36-46. That was good for 12th in the West. They've had a busy offseason. They've traded for Drew Holiday, sending Anthony Simons to Boston. They've also reunited with Damian Lillard, signing him to a 3-year deal in free agency. Elsewhere, they bought out DeAndre Ayton's contract, and they traded back from pick 11 in the draft to pick 16 to select Young Han Sen. Isaac, what grade do you give the Trailblazers?
I'm going to give them an A- B+, because they had a good draft, Jansen Yang, and also, bringing back Dame and getting rid of some salary relief with DeAndre Ayton, you're actually starting to see this team form. When you have some young centers like Donovan Clingan, you have Damian Lillard coming back, and he's just rehabbing. He's going to be, as per Chauncey Billups, the most expensive assistant coach in the league. I think this is going to be a fun year for them. I'm not expecting championship aspirations, but I think this is a fun year so that any Portland fans out there, this is going to be fun to watch. You have some young guys in pieces there. You have your franchise legend helping those young guys move. And then when he's healthy and they're ready, maybe we make a different playoff push. Maybe we get a little dicey in the West. So I'm excited to see that.
All right, and Troy?
I'm going to give them an A. Purely based on the Young Hansen pick. That's the way he was out there during the summer league. I think this is a guy who has a natural feel for the game of basketball, and I'm very excited to see what he can do. And then, you add in all the other things that you mentioned, Wardell, them signing Drew Holiday, or them trading Simons for Drew Holiday. I thought that was a very quality addition for them because, Simons was headed into free agency this year. And I think that, they probably already decided they didn't want to pay him. And so, they just let's trade for Drew Holiday again, and so that's their second time trading for Drew Holiday in the last, 2 or 3 years. And so, this time he'll actually be able to come in and contribute for them. And I think that when you look at what Chauncey Billups is building there, they're building a defensive identity. And so, they have, Denny Avdia who's strapping up, Tamani Kimura who's out there strapping up. And then you just throw Drew Holiday out there. I feel bad for teams who are trying to, get the ball into the front court. So.
Oh, most definitely. But let's move on to the final team in the Northwest. Utah Jazz. Last year, they were 17-65. That was dead last in the Western Conference. In this offseason, they have added Kyle Anderson and Kevin Love from the Miami Heat in a multi-team trade. They also traded for Georges Niang from the Celtics and Yusuf Nurkic from the Hornets. And as part of those trades, they lost Colin Sexton and John Collins. Elsewhere, they also bought out Jordan Clarkson's contract. And in the draft, they selected Ace Bailey, and then they traded away picks 21 and 43 to Washington in order to select Walter Clayton Jr. at pick 18. Troy, what do you think of the Jazz offseason?
I thought they had a pretty decent offseason. I'd actually give them a B+. Some of the moves that they made, they seem really obscure, but shout out to Georges Niang, this is an actual stat. When you look at the 2020s as the decade, the most winningest player in the NBA is Georges Niang. And so, this is an actual stat that exists. When you the winning percentages of players who have played any basketball game in the 2020s, Georges Niang has the highest winning percentage of any player in the NBA. And so Georges Niang, I thought he was going to help out Boston, and it's just unfortunate that that sale went through. So they're like the new owner come in and he's looking at it like, oh, how can we cut some more money here? And then he's looking at Georges Niang. But I think that what the Jazz were able to do in the draft, getting Ace Bailey and Walter Clayton, and taking a bunch of players that they had that weren't going to do anything for them, or actually probably hinder them from going out and accomplishing their goals for next season. Which I think that I know they said that they wouldn't tank, but I don't necessarily believe them. But like I said, I think that they went out and And as far as just asset turning around, like they got some good assets in return. So, shout out to George Niang. That's my guy.
I just felt like the Mr. Krabs meme. You're telling me this, and I don't know that you've ever lied to me, and I just cannot believe
it's
this.
a 100% fact.
That's amazing.
The more I think about it, I think it's true. It's just with the teams he's been playing with. But my grade for Utah is a B because they had a good draft. They got Ace Bailey. They got someone that was touted as a potential franchise player. Whether this relationship stays healthy or not, because the circumstances of drafting him was kind of odd. That's a plus. And they made some obscure moves that may help in the long run to hopefully get more assets later to where they can come back to being, a great franchise that's competing again. So yeah, I'm gonna give them B.
All right. Well, let's get to a listener question. They asked, did the Jazz set a new record for total losses in a single season?
No, I don't think the Jazz are going to set that record.
I think they get better.
Get a little bit better?
Yeah.
All right, cool. So something for Jazz fans to look forward to. Well, those are their grades. If you agree or disagree with them, then text us in to the show and let it be known. Our number is 833-377-6630. That's 833-377-6630. You could also open up the description of today's podcast episode and click message the show. And if you do so, well, it'll open up your texting app and it'll be able to message us directly. Or you could also message us on X or Instagram. Isn't that right, Isaac?
Yes, you can message us at Capital Hoop Caucus on X and then Capital Hoop Caucus on Instagram.
All right, that's absolutely right. Next week, we'll be grading the Central Division. So send us any questions that you may have for our hosts. And I promise you, we have the opportunity to answer it on air. All right, everyone, we're going to go to commercial again. When we get back, we'll have our conversation with Steve Kolawole of the UBL, or of the UABL. You're listening to the Capital Hoop Caucus on ESPN 630 and the ESPN 630 app. Good morning, everyone, and welcome back into the Capital Hoop Caucus on ESPN 630. Alongside Troy Halliburton and Isaac Ajigam-Harris, I'm Wardell McCabe. We mentioned last week that the United African Basketball League is hosting their annual Tournament of Nations tomorrow, August 24th, at the Bullpen right outside Nats Park. And the Capital Hoop Caucus will be there recording some special content across social media. You'll be seeing that publishing all through the following days following the tournament. But first, we just wanted to introduce to you one of the people who is responsible for building this day out, the co-founder of the UABL, Steve Kolawole. Steve, thank you so much for joining us today.
Wardell, thank you for having me.
And thank you, brother. Thank you, Steve. I got to attend the UABL last year for the third annual, and I'm so happy that we could do something. We're making an appearance, and man, it's so glad to have you here, brother.
Yeah, Stephen, it's definitely nice to meet you, man. And, I've perused the website, and I just want to hear a lot more about Afro beats and basketball. Like, what does that it actually entail and like really sell the people on that?
Yeah. No, again, thanks to you guys as well. Isaiah, it was a pleasure having you there, especially after meeting. But Afro beats and basketball, ball is life, they say. Afro beats is life. So it's just a perfect marriage if you really think about it. It's just intertwining the two cultures in a day of celebration, wellness, and also for a great cause. So it kind of naturally just occurred. I can't say I made it happen, but I'm happy to be a conduit.
All right, well, speaking of the celebration, what can our listeners expect tomorrow?
Yeah, they can expect just nonstop back-to-back action at every corner, whether it's the wellness in the morning activities, jump rope. We have a run club coming out. Salute to all our vendors and partners joining us. Step exercise with Alicia. We have vendors there as well in our marketplace. Come purchase some of the culture as well. And then we have DJs, just back-to-back lineup of some amazing local and international DJs, from DJ TB to Diamond Platinum Ricky Platinum to Two Bunnies, international Ampiano duo DJ group. So they're going to close out the night.
Now, this is an all-day event at the Bullpen, and with Afrobeats and basketball, and me being of the diaspora, being a half Ghanaian here out of the caucus, there is a little more emotional ties to this event, but also talking about the Afrobeats, but we got to get into the basketball. What inspired you to found the UABL and also the Tournament of Nations?
Yeah, the UABL, again, it was almost a natural thing. I've been playing basketball all my life. I didn't know what I wanted to study in school. I just knew I wanted to play basketball when I went there. Not of course, for the team, unfortunately, but I just wanted, wherever I went, I just knew I wanted to play basketball. So that I just progressed into being a grown-up with that, found a group of great friends within a community. But it just turned into, as you get older, let's do a little more for the community. So outside of just, playing for fun or wellness, let's also make it a conduit to give back to the children. So a group of us kind of form UABL, United African Basketball League, as a bridge between life lessons, professional skills, and sports and wellness. And that basketball for us is like the candy. And we put those life skills and those professional skills as the medicine, because you don't know the impact you have on a kid. All you could do is kind of give them the tools. And this is just a great vehicle to do that.
Yeah, that's absolutely amazing, and I'm glad to hear that there are going to be so many activities outside of just the Afrobeats and ball, to contribute to the health and wellness of the community. But specifically when we're talking about the basketball tournament aspect of it, can you just give us some of like the logistics of how the tournament is going to be broken down and some of the participants that are going to be playing in this tournament?
Sure thing. And if you excuse me, I just want to step back a little bit for the day. I could just give you the whole run of the show. So we're going to start with that morning wellness, those activities. Again, bricks, exercise, the run club. And then we have our youth clinic. Want to bring them to the forefront since that is the initiative we're raising money for. And then we have the Ladies Love Basketball Tournament and Showcase, where it's all women's. Women are also allowed to play in the following tournament, which is the main event of the day, the Tournament of Nations. This year, we have 9 teams. Last year was 8 teams, so we have a new introduction of Sudan here. And then we have Nigeria, of course, Ghana, shout out to Isaiah again. Then we have Jamaica, Liberia, Cameroon, Liberia, the USA, and Sierra Leone. Let's just pretend that was 9 in case I missed one. But yeah, we have the 9 nations this year. Sierra Leone has actually won back-to-back, so they're actually going for their 3rd in a row. So they're on the road to glory for the 3-peat. And we actually shot a mini documentary and are still shooting it. We've released a few trailers on our UABL page at UABL Pro.
All right. And you mentioned as well that there will be some vendors and activations throughout the entire day. Can you speak to some of the vendors who will be appearing for you?
Yeah, so we will have, I guess, the main source of vending would be the meals. So the Bullpen DC is where the event be. Again, it's outside Nationals Park, and they have some great vendors there, Surfside Tacos. But we have a grill master, as we put in the cultural sense of Ivy Smooth, Big Chops. He will be there. We have Kane with Zipporah with her candles and scents. And a bunch of other ones that kind of slipped my mind right now. I don't have the list of the vendors in front of me, but I know we'll have some cool merchandising there, as well as some great like sea moss from a few of the vendors. So it's a wide variety, hitting on a wide note of things, and I'm sure you'll find something that you can delve into.
And you mentioned the venue.
We'll also have our own store, not to jump
Oh,
in.
really? Oh, nice.
Own store?
UABL store. I mean, look, I even forgot my own. So no
Yeah,
offense.
product placement.
Major.
So the UABL store will be there selling some merch, some hats, some jerseys, and whatnot. So get yours. Make sure you get yours as well.
All right, fantastic. You also mentioned the venue itself, the Bullpen. What inspired you to have this at the Bullpen?
Yeah, for those that don't know, they don't have a basketball at the Bullpen, so we have to kind of build one there, drop one right there in heart of DC. It's just in the past few years just become a place of joy and merriment that I've partaken in, and I don't know. It was the same reason the Jumbotron. In my brain, I said we have to have the Jumbotron at the park, and everybody was looking at me crazy. I just think that's the next step. So, I mean, since I go to the Bullpen to have a great time, I'm like, yeah, I think this is the location because it's almost like a magnet for a good time. And I love to have a good time and marry that with a good cause. So we just made it happen.
To piggyback off the question for the Bullpen, and I was explaining to Wardell and to Troy just how this event came about, because initially the last couple of years, as this has been growing. You had it in Silver Spring or in Montgomery County at any of the recreational parks to try to have multiple courts and multiple space, but it's kind of hard to even sell it to even some of our other ESPN colleagues here. Like, there's going to be a basketball court in the middle of the bullpen. It's been a hard concept to hear as a caucus, as a group, to try to like comprehend. I'm like, I don't know what's happening. I don't know how, but it's going to be happening. How did that concept come for you?
Yeah, you and me both, brother. I haven't seen it yet, so it just is. I mean, we eyeballed it, and it said that could house a basketball court. So we started making the calls. Got the approvals needed, and I don't know, man. Until you tell me no, it's a yes, right? So we've gotten this far. There's no turning back now, but it's amazing. The court is actually on the way here. The forklifts just dropped. So yeah, it's I don't really have a real explanation, but where there's a will, there's a way.
Well, we cannot wait to see what it is that you've all assembled. For our listeners at home, could you tell us how it is that they can support this game?
Oh, yes. Support the game, the day, by coming out. You can find tickets at TON25.com. Follow at UABL Pro for all the informational links at the top. And you can find us there. Steve at UABL Pro. Let me give out my email, too.
Of course. Brother Steve, thank you for coming out. But I do have one last question for you. Are the refs going to give my team Ghana, like, we going to get this in? We're going to get this dub? Like, we got this?
Listen, I am an impartial conduit to this day. I wish all the teams the best equally. And Nigeria has never won. So clearly I'm not here being biased. So if Ghana does what they need to do, you guys, I mean, they don't have you, so they're going to be a little lacking. But they have assembled a nice little squad there, and they're feeling very confident, let's just to say the least.
Well, that's good to hear, but it's spoken like a true Nigerian, keeping the whole face card, no poker face. I respect the neutrality there. I respect it.
There you go. And one more thing, just to make sure everybody's aware, we are a 501c nonprofit organization. So please send your donations, even if you can't make it. We have a donors link again at TON25.com, UABLpro.org. And yeah, we could really use it so we can keep doing things great for the community and keep giving back to underserved kids in the community as well.
All right. Well, there you have it, folks. The UABL's Tournament of Nations is going down tomorrow, and we will be there. Steve Kolawole, thank you so much for joining us today.
No, pleasure. Can't wait to see you guys tomorrow.
Welcome back into the Capitol Hoop Caucus. I'm Wardell McCabe, joined by Troy Halliburton and Isaac Ajicum Harris. On today's show, we have scrolled down memory lane to talk about John Wall after he announced his retirement from the NBA earlier this week, as we were joined by Michael Sykes II of Business of Fashion. And then from there, we discussed some of the Wizards' recent camp signings and reflected on the Mystics' playoff odds following their consecutive losses to the Connecticut Sun. And then we've also graded the off seasons of the Northwest Division, spoke with Steve Kolawole of the UABL to preview tomorrow's Tournament of Nations. And if you missed any part of the show, do not worry. You can always catch the show on your podcast platform. Just go ahead and open up the favorite podcasting app of yours and click on that little search tab and type in Capitol Hoop Caucus. I'll promise you we will be right there. And as I mentioned at the top of the show, for the very first time, you can catch the show on YouTube, too. So wave hi to the camera, everyone, because we're right there with you. And we're almost at the end of the show. But before closing it out, it's time for a game, meaning I have to take my way for our next host. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Trivia Time from the Line. I'm your host, Guy. Now, you all know the name of the game, but let's get to the aim of the game, which is this: to score more points than your opponent. We'll have 5 minutes on the clock, during which our contestants will have to correctly guess as many players' names as possible in a surprise category of our choosing. Are our contestants ready today? That doesn't really matter because we're going to jump right into it. You'll be naming the players who had the second highest points per game average as teammates of John Wall during each year of his tenure as a Wizard. When you make your guess, please provide the year they were Wall's second highest points per game scorer, their points per game average, their position, along with their name. Now, let's begin. We'll start with Isaac.
2010, 16.8 points per game, power forward? Nick Young?
No. Troy.
2010, 16 points per game, power forward, Andre Black.
It is Andre Blatch. Isaac.
Ooh, okay. We're going to do 2015, 13.5 points per game, center, Markin Gortat.
It is Gortat. Troy.
All right, let's go. Let's go. 2011 shooting guard, 14.7 points per game. Let's go Jordan Crawford.
It is Jordan Crawford. Isaac.
2014, 12.2 points per game, center, Nene.
Not Nene. Troy.
Yeah, let's go. Let's go 2014, 12 points at center. Let's go Marcin Gortat.
It is Gortat again. Isaac.
My gosh, this is awful. 2017, 14.7 points per game, small forward. I have to know this. I want to say Paul Pierce.
No. Troy.
This is too easy. 2017, small forward, 14.7 points per game, Otto Porter.
Otto Porter Jr. Isaac.
I'm like blanking here. Oh my gosh. 2012, 13.2 points per game, shooting guard Jordan Crawford.
It is Jordan Crawford. Troy.
All right. Let's go 2013, small forward, 14 points per game. Let's go with Martell Webster.
It is not Martell Webster. Isaac.
2018, 15 points per game, power forward, Otto Porter Jr. again?
Not Otto Porter Jr. Troy.
2018, 15 points per game, power forward. That's Markieff Morris.
It is not Markieff Morris. Isaac.
2016, 14 points per game, power forward, Markieff Morris.
It is Markieff Morris in 2016. Troy.
Okay, let's go. 2013, small forward. Let's go with, is that Cartier Martin?
It is not. Wonderful. Isaac.
2018, 15 points per game, powered forward, Marcus Morris?
No, what?
No, I thought they
both Morrises were not in DC. Troy.
Damn.
Digging in deep here.
So the only two were the opener, that 2013 and 2018. Who was power forward in 2018? 2018 power forward. Oh, I got it. 2018 power forward. That's Bobby Portis.
It is not OG Bobby Portis.
Wow,
Isaac.
2018, that's stumping me. I got to think, who's... No, it wasn't. He wasn't playing the power forward, unless he was he playing the power forward there? No. I'm gonna pass on that one. I gotta really think about that one.
All right, Troy.
Damn, 2018 power forward.
Two left.
2018 power forward, 15 points per game. Is that Jabari Parker?
It is Jabari Parker. Isaac.
Yeah, that's it. That's the game right there.
2013, 14.4 points per game, small forward. It's not. It's third year, John Walker. I really should know this one. I think I know it. It's not Gortat.
No, it's not Gortat. Let's go back over to Troy.
2013, small forward, 14 points a game. Is that Nick Young?
It is not Nick Young. Back to Isaac
Dang, who's
for the final guess.
2013? Jeez.
Barry Parker got me to win.
Garrett Temple?
It is not Garrett Temple.
I'm curious.
No. 2013, 14.4 points per game at small forward. Trevor Ariza.
That was too easy. Oh my God, I messed up.
I forgot he was with us for a little while.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and tally up these results with a score of 6-9. Your winner, Troy, reigning champion once again. Do you have any comments for the people at home?
Yeah, man.
I don't care. That does it for us here at Trivia Time for the Line. Bye. All right, guys, who won this week?
Come on, man.
Whoa.
Come on, man.
Whoa.
Come on, man.
Whoa. You were sweating for a little bit there.
Come on, man.
It was a 3-point win. It wasn't a blowout.
Hey, look, you had a chance to come back, but I got that Jabari Parker.
3-point win now.
This is where I had to go into my Rolodex of memories. I was like, okay, Otto Porter got traded for Bobby Portis and Jabari Parker. So I was like, when I guessed the first one, I was like, well, it's got to be the other one. Let's go.
Okay. Some of these years, I will admit, although I was watching, I was also trying to. I was watching for a different purpose. I was trying to figure out my game. Some of these years, like,
All right.
man, I was playing.
If that helps you, man. If whatever it is that you say, man. All right, we're just about done here. Let's go out and head into the last shot, which is when each of us has 24 seconds to speak on anything basketball related beyond the limits of the DMV. That can be a shout out, a hot take, personal gripe, whatever it is. Now's the time to let it fly. The only rule is that when the 24 seconds is up, your microphone will shut off. Troy, are you ready to take your last shot?
Yes, sir. Hey, man, I know we've made a lot of jokes and comments on this show about one particular Malik Beasley, but shout out to him for being completely exonerated today. And look, he's already been freed from the justice system. Now let's free him from, the NBA free agency. I know that he's not going to get that deal that he was looking for, but he will still be able to pay off some of those bills.
Sure, definitely will be able to now. Isaac, you want to take your last shot?
Yeah, it's a little more serious. Last week I didn't get to do my love letter to DC, but shout out to Washington, DC, all of us Washingtonians, what line you were on, for standing up, staying pro, and hey, we always beat to our own drum here. So shout out to y'all. And yeah, that's about it.
All right. Quick and to the point. I'll go ahead and get into my last shot. Speaking of Malik Beasley, he's under investigation. Another player who's under investigation who hasn't beaten the case yet, Terry Rozier. What is going on with that? He's not been suspended by the league or anything. He's still just pending investigation. Honestly, we were talking last week about people who need to stay away from microphones. Rozier needs to get on a microphone. He needs to plead his case and also share some details about what was going on, because it's not looking good for my guy right now. All right, that'll do it for us here. Troy, for our listeners, where can they get more of your work?
They can always find me on the platform formerly known as Twitter, but now X, at Troy Halliburr. And please go subscribe to my newsletter, Ideal Taste DC.
Yes, please do. You can read his latest posts there. Isaac, how about yourself?
You can always find me on X at Ike Irie Ites, and then on Instagram at Isaac_Ajakum Harris 224. And then you can always see me occasionally on the Cap Hoop Caucus account. So Cap Hoop Caucus on X, and then also Capital Hoop Caucus on Instagram.
All right. Well, thank you both so much for joining me this week. And thank you, everyone at home, for joining us here on the Capital Hoop Caucus, whether it was live on the radio or whether you listen on the podcast, or even you right there. I'm looking at you at the YouTube feed. Thank you for joining us. It does mean a lot. For everyone here at the show, it's been great to have you here. And I'm really glad that we're taking this next step. I just want to say that and collect ourselves as a show. Like, it's really cool that we're taking this next step. We're trying to be bigger and bolder for everyone. But as I said, we're also on the live radio. So if you're listening on the radio, then just know that coming up later today on ESPN 630, we'll be Orioles baseball with the O's hosting the Astros. First pitch is scheduled for 7:05 p.m. Eastern. Coverage begins here at 6:30 on the Orioles Radio Network, presented by Sprinkler Fitters Local 669. And it's airing live on ESPN630DC.com, the ESPN 630 app, or 6:30 a.m. on your local dial. Signing off for Isaac Gachicamaris, Troy Halliburton, myself, Wardell McCabe, and our very special guests, Michael Sykes II of Business of Fashion and Steve Kolawole of the UABL. This has been the Capitol Hoop Caucus, reminding you to visit freedcproject.org to learn how you can get involved with local organizing groups, or you could also look up your ward's mutual aid online. Darlings, please be kind to one another. Well, I guess talk to you all tomorrow night at the UABL's Tournament of Nations.